But stablecoins won't be around forever because all fiat currencies will fail over time.
Wow.
The thing is, in the past, before Bitcoin existed, you can do a reset. Taiwan dollar, Xing Taibi, is the new one. It's not the old one. There's one before that.
Yeah. 50 years ago, 60 years ago.
So every time the fiat currency starts to fail, you can make a new one. But the question is, right now, can there be a new dollar? Would people embrace it? I don't think so, because now you have a choice of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin did not exist, then we can keep going forever, just like Argentinian peso, right? If it gets too bad, we just throw it away and make a new one.
Yeah.
But now I think people would not accept that. So Bitcoin is the only way to go right now. Like, all the roads lead to Bitcoin adoption.
Hello， 大家好，欢迎回到Side Chat，我是 Inside 的编辑 Mia。
我是 Fox。那今天 Inside 邀請到的是這個 Gen3 的 CEO Samson。那請這個 Samson 跟大家打聲招呼。
Okay， 大家好。My name is Samson Mow. I'm the CEO of Gen3. We are a Bitcoin technology company that works on a Bitcoin wallet called Aqua. And we also do nation-state Bitcoin adoption. That is, we work with governments, politicians, regulators around the world to implement Bitcoin strategies at the nation-state level.
OK， 所以Gen3其实我们今天会找他来的原因，是因为在前面几周的时候，在台湾的 ABS 这个亚洲区块链大会里面呢，Samson有在这个大会里面提出一个主张，他认为呢，这个台湾呢应该要买大量的比特币作为这个货币的储存。那但最主要是他的这一个服务呢，其实有服务这个萨尔瓦多的比特币的储存。那我们先请你自我介紹一下，就是說這 Gen3 這家公司為什麼成立？那跟近年來做了什麼事情呢
？So I first started Gen3 after leaving Blockstream. So while I was at Blockstream, I worked with El Salvador on their Bitcoin strategy, rolling out their Bitcoin law and digital securities laws. And then we announced the Bitcoin bonds too, which is a financial instrument that is sovereign debt-based, backed by Bitcoin. So I decided to focus more on Bitcoin adoption around the world, and this is why I started Gen3. So our purpose is really to accelerate hyper-Bitcoinization. And what that means is that the world reaches a place in which you no longer go back to fiat currencies like 美金、台币、各种等等东西，法币。So everyone just stays in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And we have two main strategies to do this. One is to build a wallet for end users. So reaching the retail consumer market, expanding the footprint of Bitcoin. The other one is we work with governments. So we've reached out to a number of countries. We've worked with Madeira. It's an autonomous region of Portugal, and they've announced their Bitcoin strategy. We have also worked with Prospera. It's a special economic zone in Honduras, and they've also made Bitcoin legal tender. And then last year we met with the Prime Minister of Montenegro, President of Colombia, and the President of Suriname. So we're actually getting a lot of interest in Bitcoin at the nation-state level. And we have a number of initiatives in other places too. So later this year, I'll be speaking in the German Parliament. They famously sold off their Bitcoin this year.
Last month, I think.
Yeah. So we'll try to fix that. But yeah, there's a number of countries that are very interested in Bitcoin at this time.
Yeah.
And I believe it's accelerating due to what's happening in the US with the election there.
Yeah.
So you have 2 of 3 presidential candidates, President Trump and Robert Kennedy. They are talking about Bitcoin strategies for the US. And most of the world likes to follow what the US does. So I think this is a triggering for more broad nation-state adoption everywhere. And I'm hopeful that Taiwan can also take some action too.
Okay. But why Bitcoin? Because before the interview, we have the chat, and you mentioned Bitcoin is quite different from other cryptocurrency. The reason is?
Well, yeah, it's complicated because most crypto companies or crypto projects like to associate themselves with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But Bitcoin and Bitcoiners don't like to associate themselves with crypto because I think the two things are very different. My most diplomatic answer is that anybody can make a crypto project. Like there's many famous Taiwanese ones, right? That came up and scammed a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then there's other ones like Terra Luna and Korea, everything like that. Maybe there's some legitimate projects, but by and large, most of them are just creating a cryptocurrency to make money. Whereas with Bitcoin, nobody can create Bitcoin again. It's a one-off discovery or invention. It's like discovering fire.
Yeah.
So nobody can make Bitcoin once more. And the focus of Bitcoin is restoring the monetary system in the world, seeking sound money and moving towards a Bitcoin standard. So it's not so much about doing something to make money. Bitcoin is meant to preserve your wealth so that nobody can seize your funds, change the monetary policy, whereas all these other projects are out there to make money. Like literally, they make their own money. So I think this is why there's a clear distinction for most Bitcoiners, that there is Bitcoin and then there's everything else.
So in earlier of this year, I think there are some kind of ordinal protocol or something like that for Bitcoin. What's your opinions on that?
Yeah, so I'm not really interested in ordinals. I mean, it is not really novel. So if you have been in Bitcoin long enough, you've seen all the projects before.
Yeah.
And there's an old project from, I think, 2012 or 2013 called Counterparty.
Yeah.
And ordinals is basically the same thing, but with just a twist to it.
Oh.
So they are inscribing, which is they're putting data into blockchain.
Yeah.
But the ordinals don't exist in the Bitcoin blockchain at all. It's a separate protocol that is just pointing to Bitcoin.
Yes.
And I think there is a faction of Bitcoiners that don't like it, and they think we should filter it out because it's spam.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that is a practical thing, because Bitcoin is open and permissionless. People will always do things, but they must pay the economic cost. So if they want to inscribe, they need to pay the fees to the Bitcoin network.
Yeah.
And I think if you start to mess with that, it starts to put Bitcoin at risk for things like censorship. So I think it's not ideal. I don't like it personally, but I think you have to allow these things to play out and just play out through market forces. So if it's like every other NFT project, typically it fades away after a certain amount of hype and promotion.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but maybe it has legs. But if you look at history, all of them fade out over time.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so recently you get a speech at ABS about why nation should hold Bitcoin reserves. So can you elaborate on this?
Well, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Like most nations will hold gold reserves.
Yeah.
So why do they hold gold? Let me ask you, Fox.
Because it's a rare metal. And in a lot of people's opinions, they think it has value, and
it has a fixed value over a very long period of time.
And most people agree with that.
Yeah, but you can see, like, now we're getting into what is money, right? What is something that's valuable?
Yeah.
And it breaks down to a very simple concept, which is something is valuable because we say it is valuable.
Oh.
Yes, in God we trust, and
in Bitcoin we
have
trust.
faith on something.
Yeah.
And the more people believe it, so it will have
value. I want to believe.
I want to believe.
So money is really just a layer for trade.
Yeah.
Right? Before money was created, how we trade is barter, right?
Yeah.
But bartering is ineffective because you have to have what I want and I have to have what you want at that exact same time. It's called the coincidence of wants. So what we did was we invented money, which is a third thing that we can trade into and out of as needed. And it means that I don't have to have chickens and you don't have to have pigs, and we can just get what we want when we want it, and at smaller denominations, right? You can't trade a fraction of a cow. Well, you can, but you have to kill it. But money is a very effective way for people to trade. Now, the problem with money is that it's always imbued into a physical form. If we're just trading, we have a ledger in our brains. Like, I owe you 1 cow, you owe me 30 chickens, right?
Yeah.
But when you put it on paper, the paper can be lost. It can be burned. And if you let someone else keep the paper, that's kind of like the bank. The bank can lend it out to someone else and sell the claim. So every time we take money and we put it into something physical, it loses value because it can be corrupted. And it's the same for gold and coins. Coins can be clipped, right? If you look at the Roman Empire, they clip the coins, or they make their coins with silver and gold.
Yeah.
Or, there's various ways to manipulate it. But what Bitcoin does is it restores money, because now money is just something once again. It's the ledger. And the Bitcoin blockchain has no physical form. It doesn't exist anywhere. It exists everywhere at the same time because it lives on the internet. It's in the cloud. And because Bitcoin has no physical form, it cannot be corrupted. So this is why Bitcoin is very important. But to answer your question, why do countries want Bitcoin? It's the same reason why they want gold. They need to be able to trade with other people, other countries, companies, and they need to get things, right? So if you look at, say if Japan is an example, they import most resources, whether it's LNG or petrochemicals or timber, everything, right? So if you need to buy something, you need to have money. The reason why you have gold is you want to use it for something else in the future, potentially, or to back your fiat money to also buy something that you need in the future. But there is a risk with gold. So with any physical form of money, like gold, it can be corrupted, but can also be seized. So Taiwan has 400 something tons of gold under a mountain.
Okay.
Right? If there was some conflict and someone wanted to attack Taiwan, they can easily take the gold. Now, how do you mount a counteroffensive in that case? Because now you don't have money to pay people, right? I think Taiwan still has a lot of treasuries in the U.S. But what if you need to buy something from a non-U.S. ally, right? Maybe you want to buy something from, I don't know,
North Korea.
Sure, or Kazakhstan or something, right? And they don't want your U.S. debt. You would need gold, but now your gold is taken by someone else. So what you want is digital gold, the new gold, which the bulk of the world seems to understand. And a lot of Taiwanese people, younger people, know about Bitcoin and have Bitcoin and, the crypto stuff too. But this is now a new asset class. And I think it is a legitimized asset class because you have the ETFs in the US. You have BlackRock, one of the largest institutions on the planet, offering it and accumulating it for themselves too. So you can not deny that Bitcoin is not a legitimate asset now. Now, it is a legitimate asset that can protect you against cases where you're attacked and have your assets seized or taken. So you can use Bitcoin to trade and buy things to mount defenses and counteroffensives and things like that. So my reasoning is, if Taiwan is spending 2.1% of GDP on military purposes, and that's for defense, it's not offense right now, then you should at least spend 1% of GDP to buy Bitcoin one time, because that will give you an amount of Bitcoin equivalent to the UK. So the UK has 300 tons of gold. Taiwan has 400. So my reasoning is you should have more Bitcoin in the UK. So that's why I put the number out there of 83,000 Bitcoin for Taiwan.
Okay.
Because the UK has 60-something thousand.
Okay. As you mentioned, it seems it's a trend in wherever United States, especially Donald Trump had a speech at the blockchain summit. It should be Bitcoin summit in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I think it's just Bitcoin conference.
Bitcoin conference, yeah. He promoted the idea, and he did not say they will buy Bitcoin. They will use the Bitcoin they got before and won't sell it. So it's the same question. Maybe Taiwan can say we will not sell the Bitcoin we acquired before. It should be the first step. So what is the actions do you think the government should take regarding the Bitcoin at the first step?
Well,
I don't think it's easy for a government like Taiwan. They will say, I will spend 1% of the GDP to buy Bitcoin. It's impossible.
The problem is Taiwan doesn't have any Bitcoin, at least not that we know of yet. Right?
I think the legal department they had some, but they sold it openly in some bidding occasions.
Yeah. But that makes no sense.
Just like Germany.
Yeah, it's really crazy, I think, for a country that has Bitcoin to sell it for money that they can print themselves, right?
Yeah.
It just makes zero sense. But
yeah,
the main point is, I think for the U.S. that they want to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve, right?
Yes.
They have the U.S. has strategic oil reserves, and they actually have a strategic cheese reserve, right? So if you have these reserves, the point is that you have something to use in the future.
Yes.
And Bitcoin is just money that you will use in the future. But it doesn't really matter how you establish it. Either you can keep Bitcoin you have already, or you can buy new ones. But I think in Taiwan's case, to accumulate 83,000, you need to buy it. You won't be able to just get it from seizing it from criminals or things like that. But I think it doesn't really matter what a country does. There's many avenues that they can pursue. One is legal tender, but that's very challenging, right? Because that's a direct affront to the fiat system, saying Bitcoin is money. That's basically saying the dollar is worth zero, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's challenging. Only some countries will be able to do that, smaller countries like El Salvador. The other one is just accumulating, so buying Bitcoin either in strategic reserves or adding to treasury or any other way. I think that's pretty straightforward because Bitcoin is just an asset, and you should be able to buy any asset. Central banks already buy equities. So if you look at some of the central banks already, they're getting Bitcoin exposure indirectly through buying MicroStrategy. So it's already happening, just not at the scale that it should be happening. Because if you look at the landscape of nation states owning Bitcoin, China has about 190,000.
Yeah.
The U.S., it's publicized that they have 215,000, but 95,000 don't belong to them. They have to return that to Bitfinex. It belongs to Bitfinex.
Oh.
So actually, China has the most Bitcoin in the world right now. Then you have UK, and it goes down from there. But MicroStrategy, a public company in the US, has 200-something thousand, 290,000, I think. So you can have a company, a corporation, holding more Bitcoin than most countries right now. So I think there is still an opportunity, but that opportunity is closing for countries to acquire Bitcoin simply because there's not that much Bitcoin left. There's a limited supply of 21 million.
Yeah.
So if Taiwan wants to buy 83,000, they probably need to do it within the next year. Because if you wait another year, you won't get 83,000 for 1% of GDP, right? You might need to spend 10% of GDP if Bitcoin goes up to 1 million. And when Bitcoin is at 10 million a coin, it'll exceed the GDP, the annual GDP, right? So I think most entities don't fully understand how limited Bitcoin is, and they think we'll get it later. But later is very unlikely.
I really don't think the Central Bank of Taiwan, they really understand the point. They still consider it is a high-risk asset right now. And as you mentioned, I think there are more and more public companies. They are trying to buy Bitcoin, not only United States companies, but also some maybe UK and the Japanese the public companies.
Yeah,
they are doing the same thing.
Yeah. So I've talked to a lot of people in Taiwan, and I met some politicians too.
Oh, okay.
And the feedback is that it cannot happen in Taiwan because Taiwan cannot because Taiwan is too conservative, 太保守.
Yeah, so I say the first step is trying to block them to not sell the Bitcoin they seize from the criminal. It should be the first step. And it will be easier, I guess.
I think they just have to make a decision to buy. So if they don't want to buy Bitcoin directly, you can buy MicroStrategy, right?
Or buy stock.
Or buy an ETF.
Meanwhile, right now, the BlackRock, their ETF, iBit, they were buying the Bitcoins from maybe January. Yeah. Since January to now, and they are buying it, not sell it every day.
Yeah.
They are buying it every day.
Yeah.
Even the price drive from maybe 60,000, they are still buying. So it's a trend. Not only the public company are buying it, but also a lot of people are buying Bitcoin by IBIT, the ETF right now.
So it doesn't really matter how they want to buy it. There is a way for them to get exposure to it, right?
Yeah.
But you have to ask yourself, if the way you get Bitcoin exposure is not direct holding Bitcoin, but through an ETF, why not sell all the gold and buy a gold ETF? Because I think deep down, the governments
I understand your point.
They understand it, but they can't cross the mental chasm to think that I should hold the underlying asset, right? Because the gold ETF should be just as good, right, as holding the gold under the mountain in Taiwan.
But
it's not.
but I think the problem is in most of the political things like this, Taiwan is a follower, especially follow the United States.
Yeah,
because the SEC still saying it's not illegal, not considered is a good thing.
Yeah.
Right, in United States.
Not really. I mean, the SEC has approved the ETFs. So
right, but in the Biden government, they don't. I don't think they think Bitcoin is a good asset.
They don't have a positive attitude towards.
Yeah, but I mean, the Biden government doesn't know what they're doing. So it's a holistic problem. So back to the original point, I think a lot of people believe Taiwan is too conservative to do it. But I think being conservative and being reckless and risky is just a circle. So if you want to be conservative, you can be so conservative that you go into the risky part, right? Because it's like missing a revolution.
Yeah.
You can say a car is dangerous because it can go very fast and hit somebody.
Yeah.
And then you just keep the horse and buggy. But then you're going to miss the entire revolution of the automobile, right? So I think there just has to be more thinking from first principles and reasoning out why you want Bitcoin. But I think it's de-risked because the US has already greenlit. And like you said, everyone follows the US.
Yeah.
So the Hong Kong ETF, which is basically approved by Beijing, they followed and wait for the US. The Australian ETFs also waited for the US green light.
Yeah.
But there's a problem with that. Normally, in a fiat world, you can do that because you can print money to catch up, right?
Yeah.
You can wait for the flags to go up and it's all green flags and let's go.
Yeah.
And then you can print some money and catch up. But with Bitcoin, you can't do that. There is no catching up. So once the ETFs launch in the US, now they have about 900,000 Bitcoin, the US ETFs. The Hong Kong ones have maybe 10,000. It's too late because they waited, right? If they went first, it would have been different. Australia has 100 something. So you can see the differential, right? Number one has the most. Number two has a lot less. Number three has even less. So if you wait for the US to announce, let's say Trump wins or Robert Kennedy wins and they want to accumulate.
Kennedy win.
I think he has a chance. But let's say they start their treasury strategy.
Yeah.
There's no way Taiwan's going to be able to buy Bitcoin at the price now. Taiwan will be paying $10 million per Bitcoin at that point.
Yeah.
Right? So if you think about it, Bitcoin is an insurance policy against the collapse of fiat money. That the US debt keeps spiraling out of control. Interest rate payments are going to top $1 trillion a year next year. And money printing is on the rise. Shouldn't you take out an insurance policy worth 1%, less than 1% of your GDP for the next 1,000 years? I think it's worth it.
1,000 years.
Okay. For your information, in the January, the IBIT list in United States stock market, and people in Taiwan can buy IBIT by Taiwanese bank. Is okay at the very beginning, but after maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, the financial department in Taiwan, the ban, they told the Taiwanese bank, you cannot sell the customer the ETF. So basically, and we got some kind of law regulator ask the financial department, and they answer, we will try to study it for in the next 3 to 6 months. So you can see their attitude on this is very slow,
conservative,
not positive. Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because you can buy the underlying in Taiwan. Just buy the real Bitcoin. It's better than the ETF.
Yeah, but even it's the safe way to buy the Bitcoin. I mean, through the ETF. And they even, I think it's very sad because the United States government guarantee it. I think it's quite safe, but still, the argument for buying crypto, no, not crypto, Bitcoin is because the price is up and down very quickly, and people don't think it's a good, it's a high barrier to do the adoption.
Yeah, but you have to understand, Bitcoin will be volatile because it is eating the legacy financial system.
Yes.
It's not that everyone's buying a little bit and it's going to go up slowly. It is devouring the legacy financial system. All the fiat currencies, it's demonetizing gold, demonetizing real estate. It's just a matter of people understanding what Bitcoin is. Like, why would you put your money in real estate? It's drywall and wood, and it rots. And you have to pay money to maintain it. And you have to rent it to someone who will probably destroy it. Yeah. Why not put your money into Bitcoin? And I think we're moving into this direction. But Bitcoin is eating everything. And in the process of eating everything, there will be this massive volatility. Another important thing to consider is Bitcoin is a 24/7 global market.
Yeah.
So when Japan raised rates and they killed their stock market,
it reflects to the price.
It is thrown onto Bitcoin's shoulders because Bitcoin is the only thing that people could sell at that time. And then it went down, but then it comes right back up.
Yeah.
So you can see that being a global 24/7 liquid marketplace is a very powerful thing because the US market was closed. People couldn't de-risk and rebalance because it's closed. So having this thing that's open all the time is actually very powerful. So you will see these spikes and dips from time to time. But if you look at overall the trend, it's just up for the last 15 years. That's why we're at $60,000 from zero 15 years ago.
But do you think because people are using the stable coin, especially US the Tinger, to buy the Bitcoin, and the stable coin are backed by US debts. So do you think actually United States actually own the Bitcoin through the US debts?
I don't think they own the Bitcoin.
Okay.
They have the benefit of stablecoins expanding and extending the lifetime of the dollar and the reach of the dollar. Because now the dollar is more useful, right?
Yeah.
So, but all the stablecoins, it is not part of Bitcoin. People use stablecoins to buy Bitcoin.
Yes.
And they use it to just get dollar exposure. But it has nothing to do with the US government having Bitcoin.
Okay.
But stablecoins won't be around forever because all fiat currencies will fail over time.
Wow.
The thing is, in the past, before Bitcoin existed, you can do a reset, right?
Yeah.
Like Taiwan dollar, Xing Taibi is the new one. It's not the old one. There's one before that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Maybe people forget that.
Yeah.
But every time it starts
50 years ago or 60 years ago.
So every time the fiat currency starts to fail, you can make a new one. But the question is, right now, can there be a new dollar? Because the dollar is the reserve currency, and most reserve currencies fail after some time. If they wanted to make a new one, would people embrace it? I don't think so, because now you have a choice of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin did not exist, then we can keep going forever, just like Argentinian peso, right? If it gets too bad, we just throw it away and make a new one.
Yeah.
But now I think people would not accept that. So Bitcoin is the only way to go right now. Like all the roads lead to Bitcoin adoption.
But in El Salvador, does people really, the normal people, I mean, normal people are using Bitcoin for the daily using or daily use, or is only for reserve
tech savings?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are using it, probably more so inbound. So tourists, they go to El Salvador and they spend it. And then the local population probably converts it to dollars because their costs are still in dollars. If you're running a store, you're paying a supplier in dollars. So you need to kind of lock in the dollar value of the Bitcoin.
Yes.
Also, people sending remittances are using Bitcoin as a rail. So if you're outside of El Salvador and you want to send money to your family, they might swap into Bitcoin, send it through Bitcoin, but then they swap back into dollars when they receive it in their home country. So I would say Bitcoin is being used, but probably not everyone's using it day to day and keeping balance in Bitcoin, like keeping the Bitcoin that they earned.
So still for the value storage, not for using, because I was
transfer.
So
not necessarily value storage.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people that receive Bitcoin, they have dollar cost, right? So they need to lock in dollar value to pay their bills.
I was trying to use Bitcoin early this year, and I feel it's so slow and not good for transaction purpose.
You have to use the Lightning Network.
Okay.
The main chain settlement is 10 minutes, right? You have to wait for one block, and it can be longer. But actually, you have to understand, you have to go and do some research on what settlement is.
Yeah.
So when you do a credit card payment or Apple Pay or something, it doesn't actually settle until weeks, maybe months later. Even bank wires don't fully settle until after a few weeks. But Bitcoin actually fully settles after 10 minutes. And I think most people use the financial system today, but they don't really understand how it works. But settlement is something people forget because they think, I just paid with my card and it's done.
I know what you mean.
It's not done. So this is a little misunderstanding of people for Bitcoin, that they think it's slow, but it's actually the fastest settlement, fastest complete settlement on the planet.
And next question by Mia.
Okay, but we already discussed this about why do you focus on Bitcoin specifically. Your work in promoting Bitcoin as legal tender in El Salvador and your past experience as at Blockstream, both center around Bitcoin. So why do you focus on Bitcoin?
Bitcoin is permissionless, decentralized, and immutable.
But why not other? Because you mentioned it
others are not permissionless, decentralized, and immutable. So if you take Ethereum as an example, it's a project set up by some guys, and they say, we made a foundation in Switzerland.
Okay.
But it's still those guys that control it. Just because you set up a Swiss foundation does not mean it's decentralized.
True,
right?
I got your point. Yeah, okay.
And most Ethereum nodes are on Amazon. So if someone wanted to shut down Ethereum, they just call Amazon, and by extension Infura, and say, all these need to be shut down. And then you see what is actually running the network. It's just a handful of people. Most of these blockchain projects, they're very centralized, but they engage in decentralization theater, and they look like they have a lot of nodes, and it's a lot of people running it, but it's really just like a company running the network.
Yeah, the nodes are running on AWS, GCP, similar this kind of cloud service. They are not really decentralized.
Your career spans both the gaming and cryptocurrency businesses. Where do you use where do you see these two fields intersecting?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. So I still have a game project I'm working on. It's called Infinite Fleet. It's a MMO strategy game.
Okay.
And what we're trying to do is add digital assets into the game. So
NFT? No.
Yeah, we call it something else, but
okay.
It's a tokenization. We will tokenize the ships and the game currency.
Yeah.
And then later on, we want to tokenize all the resources in the game, like iron ore and steel and all those things, just so players can have it themselves. But the point of that is to let them have possession and trade all those assets with one another without having it stored in a database of the game company. That way, if you do have your account banned for some reason, you still have all your stuff, because that is your time that you invested into the game. And I think that you should be able to keep that for yourself. We never pitch it like the game is decentralized, because it's still a game with game servers. But at least all the digital items, you can hold it in your own wallet.
Bitcoin wallet. Or
it's a different wallet.
It's a different wallet. Okay.
Can you tell us about your current role as CEO and founder at Pixelmatic? How did it start?
I started Pixelmatic after I left Ubisoft. Initially, we were building mobile games, and then we did some operations of other games in Asia. Yeah. And then we decided to start building Infinite Fleet. So this was, I think we prototyped it in 2015. 15,
yeah. Okay.
And then we raised money for Infinite Fleet through a security token offering. So it's digital securities. I think that's also another avenue where I believe there's opportunity to grow, because if you look at the markets currently, it's really hard to do some sort of public offering. But tokenizing equity and using a bearer instrument where you have your own token, I think it can change a lot of things. One being the time available to trade. So there's no downtime for the markets, because people have it in their own wallet and they can trade a security if it's whitelisted. But the challenge has been that security tokens has not really taken off yet, because it's not like a quick flip project where you 100x your investment. It's actually a real project, and there's a legal structure around it to protect investors. So I think it just needs a bit of time. And that's why I'm hopeful things like the Bitcoin bonds will change the game, because Bitcoin bonds are also a tokenized security offering. And we just need a big one like that to kind of jumpstart the marketplace. But yeah, Infinite Fleet we raised through a security token. And then we also have the tokenized digital assets in the game too. So I think this is a unique selling point of the project, which is we're doing this dual token model. We have the digital securities and digital items. But we don't sell most of the digital currency. It's earned by the players. The only part we sell is the spaceships. But they can use the digital currency to trade with one another, and they can do it atomically. So that means you perform an atomic swap, whereby the trade happens all at once or not at all. So there's no way that you can get scammed by saying, send me the gold, like in World of Warcraft. Give me the gold first, then I'll give you the sword. It's just all at once or not at all. So it's applying cryptography in an interesting way and using it in a new way.
So when did you become a Bitcoin believer? I mean,
what point
when you,
of your career?
you was in the game industry, and suddenly one day you found Bitcoin is the only solution.
For the whole value system.
Yeah.
Well, I think I was a Bitcoin believer when I started reading about it. So
when was that?
I think 2013, I think. I started reading in 2011. But in 2013, I found an article about mining.
Okay.
So I actually tried to mine Bitcoin on my laptop.
Wow.
And I couldn't because it was too late, right? But I went through the whole process of setting it up. And that was when I realized that there's nobody controlling it. Because before that, I thought it's like a game currency, that there's some group or some company running it. But by going through the process of setting up a mining rig, laptop mining rig, you understand that you're running all the software. And this process of running the software is what generates the coins. And it's all open to anybody and not controlled by anybody. So that was when I thought Bitcoin is really unique. But what made me a Bitcoin maximalist was running an exchange. I was a COO at BTC China, 比特币中国. And we only listed 2 coins, Bitcoin and Litecoin, Litecoin.
Yeah.
And then that was pretty much it. Like most of the exchanges only had 2 things back then. And then you started seeing all the other projects come out, and all of the projects would come and visit and try to convince us to list their project, and including Ethereum. So that was when I realized that they're all the same. It's just a bunch of people all trying to sell their token and get rich.
Yeah.
And that was what made me a Bitcoin maximalist.
That was about, I guess, maybe 2017?
2015, 16.
15, 16, okay. I was trying to I was trying to buy some Bitcoin around maybe 2013, and it was too difficult for me. And I gave up. It's pretty pity. Okay, so I think we are going to some casual topics.
About some more casual topics other than cryptocurrencies. How do you have hobbies? How do you relieve your stress outside of your work?
Not really. I have 2 companies, so I don't have time for hobbies, really.
Really? Playing any games?
Sports?
No, not really time to play any games.
Oh, really? Because the biggest news today is the Hei Wukong. The action games right now, I think it's very popular. I just tried it.
You just don't download the game?
2 hours ago.
How is it?
I think it's quite good. I think, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's only 20 minutes in the game, so...
Yeah, I only tried, and I have to come here.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, there's not that much time for like fun things, I think. Like, I enjoy building games, so I enjoy working on Infinite Fleet.
Yeah. Working
with our artists and designers to make new things.
Yeah.
And then for the Bitcoin side, that's my passion. So I'm interested in talking about it and...
Yeah, so this is your hobby.
Yeah,
your work is
to spread the word to the world.
Yeah, so the hobby is the work.
Do any sports or maybe for...
Exercise.
Yeah, exercise.
Yeah, I try, but not sports.
Oh, okay. We don't have still no time. So, any recommended books, articles, films, or TV shows, or music you like? Books. The most important, not the white paper. I mean, books.
I don't know. I mean, the most important books are probably 1984. Sovereign Individual.
Okay.
I think those are really foundational things people need to read and understand. But yeah, I like a lot of weird books. Like I'm reading a book on how to rebuild civilization from zero if there's a cataclysm.
Okay.
But yeah, I like to find interesting topics. Usually when I'm reading things, I try not to read things about Bitcoin.
Of course. Yeah. Trying to the first principle thinking. To know the fundamental things, I think is very important.
Yeah.
So how about AI? What's your opinion on that? Because last decade, I think the most important things are only 2. One is, but not only 2. I think is crypto and the AI for a lot of people. What's your opinion on AI?
Well, I think, tying it back to Bitcoin, I think AI is very important for Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin took a lot of negative publicity for mining, where people critique Bitcoin like it's using too much energy, it's going to boil the oceans, and all the Bitcoiners are taking all the electricity. But now with AI, it's sort of diverting the attention from that. But
so people are bringing it.
Well, yeah, I think they're realizing that everything important that humanity does needs energy.
Yeah.
So with Bitcoin, because most people in the world don't understand money, they don't understand that you need to expend energy to do something, whether it's digging gold out of the ground or mining Bitcoin or building steel, like smelting steel or anything like that. They kind of forget that energy is needed. That's why you have this green energy movement about we need solar and wind and, decrease energy consumption. But actually, we need more energy production and more energy consumption to grow. So if anything, AI has changed that conversation because now the politicians seem to understand, they don't understand Bitcoin is fundamental for growth and prosperity, but they seem to understand AI will help grow the markets because it's very tech stock related, right? Directly correlated to tech stocks.
Yeah.
And now the AI companies are lobbying, saying we need more energy. So you have all the politicians saying we're going to build more nuclear plants again. Yeah. Whereas in the past, it's more about shutting down nuclear plants. So I think this is the right direction to go in. More energy production will mean more energy capacity to mine Bitcoin as well.
Okay.
Because with nuclear, you have a massive base load at any given time, and you'll need to offset that base load, right? Yeah. AI compute might not draw power constantly, and then you'll have to have Bitcoin mining. But this goes more towards integration of Bitcoin mining and energy companies. Eventually, it'll just be one thing. So your power company will just be a Bitcoin miner by default because they need to balance their base load.
So even Trump said they will burn a lot of gas or oil, I guess, for
more power.
Yeah, for more power and electricity. Yeah.
Well, I think we have to go to nuclear. Like interim, you might need to use fossil fuels. And this is another point that most people don't understand, but most green energy technologies are not green at all. Solar panels are made of coal.
Yeah.
It's not a joke.
Yeah, I understand.
You know, right?
Yeah, I know.
You use coal in the process to create the panels, the silicon. So
there are a lot of pollution for that.
Yeah, and then how you dispose of the panels, how you dispose of wind turbines, they're all very big problems. But just because it has a green label, people think it's good. But moving towards nuclear is probably the best thing for humanity because we'll ditch all the ineffective technologies. And for those things, it'd be better if you burned the coal than made the solar panel because that would be more energy efficient to just burn the coal.
For your information, actually, Taiwanese, I'm not sure other country right now, but the Taiwanese, the government right now is still like the solar and the wind for the power source right now. Still.
But the good thing about AI is it fixes that because none of that.
I think they are discussing the nuclear option right now. Yeah. I think the tide is quite changed, I think.
Yeah, but I think AI is poised to drive the Taiwanese economy massively.
Yeah.
And I think once you have all that money from AI, from TSMC or other companies, the question is, where do you put that money? And the answer is Bitcoin.
Okay. Okay, thank you. The last question.
Since Bitcoin is maybe essentially about a network for values, how do you deploy, allocate your assets? Is it all in Bitcoin or do you still buy ETFs and stocks?
I have some stocks, energy, and then some ETFs. Yeah.
But most of your portfolio is Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't make sense to have anything else. It doesn't make sense to have anything else. Like, you can keep your money in fiat, but you know it's devaluing because they're printing more.
Yeah.
You can keep your money in stocks, like 100% stocks, equities, but you have risk there of the company, right? What if the CEO is bad, they perform badly, you're subject to many market forces. And then you can have money in real estate, but then you're subject to all the ups and downs of the real estate market too, right? And the problem with real estate is it's compounded with population growth. It's the problems in real estate are compounded by negative population decrease. So if there's not population growth, there is no demand for real estate, right? So once you reason out every single different thing you can invest your money in, the answer is always Bitcoin. But you really have to think about it, right? But a lot of countries these days are facing a lot of problems. I think Taiwan too, right?
Yeah.
But Hong Kong and Japan are probably pretty bad China and Japan are pretty bad in terms of population decline, inflation, and real estate.
Crashed.
Right? And equities too. Equities markets are horrible right now, right? Especially in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So the question is, for a country or a territory, how do you grow out of that? The only way to grow out of that is to move into Bitcoin, right? Why do people stop having babies? Because it's too expensive and there's no hope.
Yeah.
So you need something that they can see will bring about a future, right? Like, people don't have children because it's so expensive. They can't afford it. And then you have this death spiral into the abyss.
Okay.
No, but the point is, Bitcoin can fix all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, believe in Bitcoin. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for with us. Be with us.
Thanks,
thank you.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
喜欢本周我们分享的内容吗？
请到 Facebook、Instagram、YouTube 来留言，告诉我们你的想法。
我们都会看哦。